this tutorial, I'm going to be discussing the content block widget. The content block is one of the most diverse widgets because it allows you to add a variety of content to your site. Anything from text, pictures, videos, maps, even downloadable files, and of course links and buttons. You can add that with the content block, so it's probably the widget you're going to be using one of the most. And you can see an example of how that works on the right hand side. If you look at this top portion here, this is our header because our header is always on top with that nice picture, and right below that is our content block. Become a Superhero is the title, and you have a picture, you have text right there, and even a button. So a content block would be used to pretty much put anything you want really in a site. And let's go ahead and open that and see how it works. In order to create a content block, you would simply add a widget, and it's located right there near the top. Once you create one, it's going to create a blank content block, but we're going to go ahead and open this just to see an example of a pre-built one. If you take a look at our preview right here, we can scroll down a bit to that content block, and you can see that the title is right there on the top and the subtitle is right below that. And then you have your main text, which is below the image. So in order to create a content block, you would just simply enter any text you would want. If you want it to be big and on the top, you would put it as a title. You can change the size right here, as well as the font. You can adjust whether that's left, center, or right orientation, as well as the color of the text. You can pick any color you'd like. Same thing for the subtitles. And for the main text, you actually have a little bit of a more advanced word processing little tool right here, which is pretty neat. So you can click new document and that'll just erase everything. You go ahead and copy this. If you click new document, it'll just erase everything and give you a blank document that you can then just copy or type your content into. And if you want to preview it, you can preview and it'll open up in a separate preview showing the full text. You can undo, redo, and all of these in the edit. I would recommend getting familiar with these as well as memorizing the keyboard shortcut located right here on the right. It's very useful to know that undo if you ever mess up or delete something you didn't mean to do. Say for that, you can just press Control Z and it'll undo that for you, or you can just simply click edit and undo, and that'll undo it, and then redo would undo the undo essentially. And you can use this edit tools as much as you'd like, and like I said, I recommend getting familiar with the keyboard shortcuts. For the view, you can view the source code if you'd like, so you can see how everything would look in the HTML format there. As well as another preview is located in view as well. And you can even insert images, links, and tables, which is really neat. So let's say if you wanted to make like a quick graph or something, you would simply click insert, and then you would determine the size of the table. If you want it 1 by 2, you would just simply do 1 by 2, or you can do 2 by 2 or 3 by 2. So once you do that, it'll automatically create a nice graph there for you. Then you can type whatever you want in that, and that'll organize it automatically. Really easy to use. And once you save that, you can see if we were to scroll down here on the right hand side with the content block, you see it has now created a nice little chart for you right there, right above the button. You can edit the table by clicking the table button, and then there's different properties. You can delete the entire table, you can add a row or add a column. And just in case you're not familiar, rows are the horizontal, going left to right, and columns are up and down. And for formatting, you can change the formatting such as bold, italicized, or underlined, or strike through, which would be like a line. So if I wanted to strike through something, you can highlight that, simply go to format, strike through, and it'll cross it out with a line. So it's very easy to use. You can adjust, if you highlight something, you can adjust the formatting such as, whether it's a heading or not, or you can adjust the font and the size of it. That's for whatever's particular is highlighted. And we also have word count as well, and you can also locate the word count on the bottom. See, this is 67 words, 397 characters. You can change that by clicking on it. So if you were to click that, it would change the characters and words. And then the table, like I said, is for organizing that particular table that's selected. Now, as far as all of this text goes, you don't necessarily have to enter a text. If you just want to put just a single picture in your website, you can do that. You can create a content block and then upload the image. Like you see here, this is an image of that little Lego Superman. And this is actually below the title and centered, and that's the alignment. So you can see right here is the title, and this is below the title and centered. So if I wanted to change where that particular image was, I would just simply determine where I want it to be changed. If I want it to be above the whole text block, which will be above the title as well, you would simply save that, and you'll now see that it is above the whole text block. And you can determine whether it's on the left or to the right on the desktop as well. You can also add more images easily by simply browsing from your computer, or you can drag and drop in this box here from your folders, or you can use our global media library, which has thousands of free pictures you can use at any time. So when you add more than one picture to a content block, it's going to automatically create a slider. So if we went ahead and added this nice picture of the city, you'll see once we scroll down, you'll see the little dots down there and the arrows, which indicates that this is a slider. It's going to automatically slide. If we leave it alone, you'll see it's going to slide to the different picture, or we can click the arrows to manually slide it. And that happens whenever you add two images to the same content block. Once you do that, it's also going to give you your slider settings right here, so you can determine whether you want it to slide or fade in, and then how quickly, or if it's not sliding at all. And you can also add videos as well. Simply just type in a video URL. If you have the video on YouTube, Vimeo, or Facebook, you would just simply paste the URL, and then it'll add the video right to that site. You can determine the frame that it's in, such as whether you want the video to look like it's in a MacBook or a desktop computer, or the modal is when it's in like a separate window that pops out when you click it. Now, for buttons, please watch the buttons tutorial in order to get a full understanding of how the buttons work. But you can see you can just as easily add buttons here. There's the button. This is a button. And there's the title of the button. Here's what the button does and what it links to. And like I said, please watch the buttons tutorial to get a full understanding. And for the other sections of the content block, you can see that's most of the main content right there. If you wanted to add any additional content, you can, such as author and date. Let's say, for example, you had like a newspaper article, or an article or something, and you wanted to, be the author of that, or you're posting a review or something. You would put in the author's name here, and then you can do the date as well, and it's going to put the date and the author name, I think, below the title. And then you can do a bio as well about the author, and that's going to place it below, near the bottom of the content block. So once we save that, you can see there's the picture, because we said the picture should be on top. There's the title telling you what it's about. There's the date that it was published, and there's the name of the author. And then you can read all about it. And then at the bottom is a short little biography of the author, if you so choose. That's if you wanted to do that. So that's a neat little feature for, if you're doing reviews, news, or anything that you want to put your name to. That's a neat little feature, and it'll organize that for you automatically, so you don't have to format that all up in here. Just put it down here and it'll do it for you. And you can also do events. So let's say like you're hosting an event, or this is supposed to take place at a certain time. You can put a little date and time in this calendar here, and you set the time zone and the duration of the event, and that'll add a little icon here that users would be able to click, and then they would add it to their calendar if they're on a smartphone. If they're on an iPhone or an Apple phone, you can click this, and that'll allow them to save it to their iCal, which is the Apple's calendar. And you can also add a map as well. So please watch the map tutorial to get a full understanding of that. But you basically just put in an address, then you can save it. And there is now a little map. And you can do also attachments as well. So if you wanted to upload a file, or you wanted users to be able to download a file, you can even upload attachments. You would simply browse to the attachment on your computer, or you can drag and drop it right there in that box. So let's say we wanted users to be able to download this picture of bamboo. So we would simply load it there and make sure to click upload so that it's fully uploaded to the server. Once that's done, you can add some button text if you want, but that's not necessary. It'll create a download button automatically. So now you can see when we scroll down, there is the file, download file. And if we were to click that, there's that picture of bamboo we just downloaded. So it's very easy to use. And that's an easy way to upload files to your website. You can change the button text right there, so anything you put, it'll replace that download file with whatever text is down there. And that is the majority of the content block. For additional options, we have the same options as everything else. You can switch this to whether users have to be required to log in order to see this, or switch it to mobile only or desktop only. So if you switch this to mobile only, users on a computer wouldn't even see this at all. They wouldn't see these pictures, this title, and the chart or any of the files or buttons, because that's all part of the same content block. But if you switch it to desktop only, mobile users would not be able to see it at all. And this is a neat little feature because you can often determine what's best for mobile versus desktop and use different content block or pictures to make the best website possible. So if you have like a really nice big picture you wanted to show off, you can put that desktop only, have users be able to download that picture, and put it on the full resolution. Whereas on the mobile, you can scale that picture smaller to the mobile version, or you can do a completely different background or header or whatever you want with mobile only. And content blocks are really useful for that as well. And for the additional styles of this widget, they're pretty much the same as everything else. You can determine the space that it takes up on the desktop, as well as the margins. And if you know any CSS, you can choose the custom widget class and background as well. This will create an entire background across the whole content block. So if you want just a solid color, like a nice gray across that whole content block and all the pictures and text, it'll fill it, that whole area, with the gray background until it hits the thumbnails down here, which is a different background. So that's how the background works. You can even do pictures for the background as well as videos. And you would just simply upload your link right there and you can do videos for the background. And that is the majority of the content block. I know it seems like a lot, but keep in mind, it's very easy to use once you get into it, and you don't have to necessarily fill out everything here. If you just want to say one thing, you can just put a little bit of text and then use different widgets to accomplish different things. Or if you just want to do just pictures and videos, you can do just a bunch of pictures and videos. So it's very easy, very flexible as well. And that is the content block.